The land and the building, they are in our assets register.
And yet you don't have ownership?
So we don't have ownership. So we are working because, as Treasury has explained, because of matters like depreciation of assets and everything, we have to get all the assets that we own, we have to have the proper ownership of the same.
You see, tomorrow you'll be told to give part of the land for affordable housing, or for a stadium, or a market for that purpose. That's why ownership is important. So it's not an idle concern. I think, Auditor General, you need this for all the county assemblies that have not been able to formalize their instruments of ownership.
Thank you. We'll do that, Chair.
Chair, what was the role of the Transition Authority? I thought that's what it was meant to do, to come up with list of assets and then the list over to county governments. What happened?
It's actually a point that we have, a question we have asked. And remember, the functions of TIA were taken over by IGRTC. So we have advised the Assembly to do a note to IGRTC, because that was the purpose why TA was established, for a seamless transition from the defunct to the current evolved structures. So, honourable members, you can keep this in view. The other query where there are numbers involved, because there are a few that are of a policy nature that we can take the written responses, was a matter of management of travel expenses.
Yes,
Auditor General, maybe quickly go through your finding.
Thank you, Chair. Under the report on lawfulness and effectiveness in the use of public resources, paragraph number 1, we have improper management of travel and expenses, review of records and documents relating to domestic travel and subsistence allowances, revealed imprest issued to various officers to perform official duties. However, the following weaknesses were noted in the management of travel expenses. 1, officers were paid per diems and travel allowances directly to their banks without the use of imprest warrants, which contradicts Regulation 93, subsection 1 of the Public Finance Management County Governments Regulations 2015, which provides that an imprest shall be issued for a specific purpose, and any payments made from it shall be only for the purpose specified in the imprest warrant. 2, Section 6.5.2 of the National Treasury Accounting and Financial Reporting Manual for county governments requires that staff to use an imprest surrender form from FO22 for travel and accommodation, which shall form the basis of posting the specific expenditure category to the general ledger. However, payment voucher documents provided for audit were not supported by way of Financial Order Form 22. 3, the management did not maintain individual imprest ledgers, imprest register, and memorandum cash books. In the circumstances, management was in breach of the law. Thank you, Chair.
What was your response, Assembly?
Thank you, Chair. We note that the following corrective actions have been undertaken and further measures will be implemented to strengthen compliance going forward. The first one is use of imprest warrants. Per diems and travel allowances were paid directly to officers' bank accounts as travel reimbursements after travel due to lack of funds at the time of authorization and travel. Measures have been put in place in line with Regulation 93(1) of the Public Finance Management County Governments Regulation of 2015. All payments for official travel are currently supported by duly authorized imprest warrants. The second one is use of imprest surrender forms, that is Form FO22. Most imprests were not approved in advance due to cash flow constraints, and as a result, travel-related claims were processed on reimbursement basis. Timely release of exchequer funds will facilitate prompt imprest issuance and reduce reliance on reimbursement arrangements. The management will continuously enforce strict adherence to Section 652 of the National Treasury Accounting and Financial Reporting Manual by ensuring that all staff use Form FO22 for surrendering travel and accommodation and imprest. This measure will improve consistency in documentation and ensure proper classification of expenditure in the general ledger in accordance with the public sector financial management standards. The third one is maintenance of imprest records. Individual imprest ledgers, registers, and memorandum cash books have now been put in place, and designated officers have been assigned responsibility for maintaining them. Thank you, Chair.
Auditor General, have you reviewed those controls? Are they in place? Are they effective?
Thank you, Chair. We'll be able to review the measures in the audit of 25-26.
The weak controls, did they result in any loss of funds?
What we looked at is the ability, maybe the risk of misuse of the resources that have been given, accountability of the resources that have been given, and misuse. Maybe the funds may have been used for purposes for which.
But there was no demonstrable loss of funds
There wasn't.
as a result of the weaknesses?
There wasn't, Chair.
Okay. Patrick?
Chairman, I think we have had a discussion in this committee in the past where an entity was claiming money from former employees, and those employees were saying, can you show us documents where we had signed? So this is a very key issue because
Yeah, that was Transoia.
Transoia.
Yeah.
If an officer has not signed an impress warrant, and if something happens, there is no you can claim that money from them. So it's a very important safeguard for the entity to put those controls in place.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean, Patrick, Clark, how were these impress surrendered now that there were no impress warrants?
Thank you, Chair. Like we have
Because
stated,
I think the procedure, you were supposed to attach those impress warrants in your vouchers and so forth.
yes, thank you, Chair.
So how are they surrendered in the first place?
Like we have stated, we did not issue impress prior to the travel. We reimburse impress after they have traveled because of financial constraints.
But even if you reimbursed, that's almost after the fact. There should have been an initiation.
Yeah, that's initiation.
Yes, Chairman, and what we are saying is that the impress warrant is the approving document. You may have the letter authorizing you to travel, but the impress warrant is the one that now commits you that you've taken money from the entity. Even if you have not taken, is a document that commits that even when you came back, you'll be able to surrender that money.
Because for you to surrender, there must have been a warrant.
You must have a warrant.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I can see that in terms of their response, they are saying that they are now going to do A, B, C, D. And that's something that can be tested going forward. Now, this is a very, very important point in terms of the conversation that we have been having informally, where governors do not want to come before this committee. And we have taken the position that you cannot be allowed to draw more funds if you have not accounted for what had been allocated to you. And that's a basic principle even here in impress management, that if you are given a warrant and you are yet to surrender, you should never get another impressed. Here in Parliament, it is strictly enforced. In fact, in Parliament, if you travel and you have not submitted your travel documents, your boarding pass and all that, you will never get an additional disbursement. It does not matter who you are, whether you are the commissioner, whether you are the speaker, and after 7 days, interest starts running. And then the deduction is done automatically. And so the message that we are passing to the governors is there is no malice here. What we are doing is a constitutional and a statutory duty. For them to appear here is not a favor to anybody. It is not a favor to the institution. It's not even a favor to the people they lead. It is a responsibility that comes from the oath that they took. And Speaker, in as much as I said earlier that you have not done us any favor by coming here because it is your duty, but I take note, having spoken to a few members of the County Assemblies Forum and a few speakers and clerks, that the COG has attempted to recruit the County Assemblies Forum in their illegal protestations. And I want to tell the County Assemblies Forum, the speakers, the clerks, that you have done the right thing. Do not get into a bandwagon, which will lead you to ruin. Continue doing what you're doing. When you appear before the Senate, we will handle you fairly. You will benefit from our collective experience. And I think you will be wealthier in a way when you interact with the Senate. So this principle of interest management is a principle upon which we shall be moving a motion later today or next week in the Senate, that if a governor chooses to go and linda ground, linda wananchi, or linda whatever they are lindering, let them also take time to come and linda their accounts. Yeah?
Chair, point of order.
The chair cannot be out of order.
Just 1 minute, Chair.
Senator,
I can confirm.
Senator Sifuna.
I can confirm that all Linda Mwananchi governors are attending. In fact, as we speak today, now, Governor Orengo is before the Senate Public Investments Committee. The bad manners are those Linda ground governors. Those ones you don't mix us up, Chair. Because on our part,
you're now getting out of order.
He's actually here, the governor of Siaya.
Yeah, we hope that we'll come before this committee.
Do we have those entities in law? The Linda Ground, the Linda Mwananchi, are they?
We take judicial notice that they do exist. Yeah, but I think whatever they are lindering shall not insulate them from scrutiny, shall not insulate them from accountability. And on this, we have the goodwill of the people. The Senate is united and firmly seized, and we shall be presenting that motion. And the control of budget, who has been called a lot of bad names by the governors. When she stopped the issuance of bursaries, they launched attacks on the control of budget across the 47 counties. In fact, it was a very, very vicious attack. And the control of budget, we must say to her that she's one of those few remaining guardians and few remaining people who stand for the good of the public. And we'll be keen to work with the control of budget to ensure that the governors who choose political theatric over the real work, that they are not allowed to continue accessing funds if they've not accounted for what has been given to them previously. Senator Sifuna.
Chair, as you launch Linda COB, I also want you to add the OAG in that mix, because on Tuesday again, they were the subject of attacks from the Office of the Head of State for just doing their jobs, because there was a term that was used when the Auditor General's report was calling out matters around the Social Health Authority. The Head of State said there are mad people in this country because the OAG has pointed out some of these issues. So, ukilinda Nyakango, pia unalinda Nancy Githungu.
Yeah, no, I think as a matter of fact, the OAG has done a stellar job in standing up for the truth, not using politics as a lens for making decisions, but using the standards, the public sector accounting standards. And honorable members, one of the things we can do to linda OAG, the Public Audit Amendment Act is before the Senate. The debate started the day before yesterday. Perhaps debate will continue today. I want to urge us to look at those provisions very carefully. I think there are some interesting proposals there. You've got an audit advisory board, which sounds like something that has been brought in to dilute the powers of the Auditor General. You've got creation of certain other positions like Senior Deputy Auditor General, who becomes the secretary to the advisory board. It sounds like created to checkmate the Auditor General. And there are several other provisions. What I want to request our legal and research team, Malcolm, I propose to make amendments to that bill at the relevant stage. Could we look at because there are some things that were added at the National Assembly, and now that it is before us, it is our duty to sanitize it. Yeah, it came from the National Assembly. They added a few things that were not in the original draft. Could you very, very quickly have a look at it, compare with the submission of the Auditor General, and let's look at that amendment, and let's point out the mischief in it, because there seems to be some mischief. I think the executive feels like the Auditor General is having too much power. There is some mischief, and it is our responsibility as the committee that deals with the Public Audit Act on a day-to-day basis to fish out that mischief.
Chair, for me, once you have identified that it is a mischievous attempt at curtailing or clipping the wings of the OAG, those of us who have sworn to defend the Constitution have to reject the thing in total. I mean, how do you get into amendments of something who you know for a fact has been brought to undermine a constitutional office? So my position as Sifuna is that I will reject any attempts to dilute or to clip any of the powers of any constitutional office, because that is the oath that I took when I was elected as Senator of Nairobi.
Yeah, they've slipped in some fairly interesting proposals, like I think Public Audit Fund. Is it called Public Audit Fund?
Yes, Chairman.
Yeah, so they put in a sweetener on one end and put in some poison on the other end. So Senior Counsel will be trusting your...
Me, I'm on record. I made my submissions yesterday on the floor, and I urged, senators who are progressive to reject that bill. I mean, if the Constitution intended the Auditor General to have an advisory board, they would have created commissioners, not an advisory board, where you bring in people who are tied with the executive. Like, why should the Attorney General sit in an advisory board for audit? Our office is, our office is subject to audit. So I think, Chair, what we need to do is to reject that amendment. How do you create an advisory board to take over human resource from the Auditor General's office? That bill is unconstitutional, Chair.
So tutalinda control of budget, tutalinda the Auditor General, na tutalinda county assemblies, na tutalinda nini tena? Tutalinda wananchi, na tutalinda ground pia.
Chair has confirmed it belongs to Linda Mwananchi.
That tunalinda ground pia. Now, honorable members, it was our desire to be done with this meeting by 12. I see the other issues that are in that report as policy issues that we can adopt. On the issues of payment to County Assembly Forum and SOCAT, the message we are sending to SOCAT and CAF is we want to have a meeting so that we agree on how to fast-track legislation to formalize those institutions. We believe that we need to empower members of County Assembly, and any help, any facilitation, legislative, that Senate can do is something that we'll be very, very ready to do. I believe that county assemblies having stronger collaborative framework is much, much more useful than governors having a welfare club, which then they use to hide behind impunity. So on these payments to SOCAT and CAF, I think we shall take a view that there is pending legislative amendments. However, I think as a general guide, our concern is where you are sending money for non-documented purposes. For example, you have games which are organized by CAF, isn't it? And sometimes you're required to pay something for that. Do you pay for specific activity, or you pay a blanket figure that then caters for everything?
Thank you, Chairman. We pay for the registration and also for the specific games that you are going to participate and the number of members who are participating.
Yeah, because if you can demonstrate that we went for games in Embu or Meru or wherever, and there were 50 members, and this is what we paid, so there was some value in it. I think there's no problem with that. There should be no problem if you can demonstrate that. And that's why we need a meeting between CAF, SOCAT, and this committee to agree on what is allowable and what is not allowable pending the legislative amendments. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what you have to say about this thing on ethnic diversity. Does Moranga belong to the people of Moranga, or it belongs to the people of Kenya?
Well, Chair, it belongs to the people of Kenya. Progressively, we are trying to do that, but the Assembly recruits its officers through a competitive process, which is normally advertised in the local dairies and in our website. So at times you have no control of who applies. So in the practice, majority of the applicants are often from the Dominic ethnic community. It limits diversity, and to improve the compliance with the constitutional and statutory requirement of inclusivity, the Assembly will endeavor to encourage other ethnic communities to apply whenever an advert is placed.
Okay, so that's a matter of progressive realization. I think we have asked our sister committee, the Cohesion Committee, to do a legislative impact assessment to establish the practicality of that provision, whether it should apply to county governments. At the national level, it is applicable. But at county government level, it could be a bit of a problem.
Chair, we are not doing too bad. Our deputy finance comes from Homa Bay.
Well, that's cherry picking.
Chair is trying to be clever with you. Because he knows you are the senator of Homa Bay. Once he mentions the county, you will be nice.
Yeah. That does not cure the problem.
So, Clark, why would you go all the way to Homa Bay, leaving the Rakanidi, which is just very much?
Fine. So, is there any other? I think the policy issues will take note of the written responses. Auditor General, is there any other issue that is very critical in this report that we need to deal with?
Thank you, Chair. The other issues that are remaining are policy, more of policy. And on succession planning, the Assembly has indicated that they have a policy which will be able to evaluate in the course of 25-26 audit, Chair.
Okay. From the other stakeholders, I've taken note also, Speaker, and which is a good thing, that you came along with your audit committee. Was it CPA Chege? CPA Michael Chege. Are you getting the, because most Assembly audit committees are just there for compliance. They never have work to do. There's never a charter that they oversight. What is the situation in the Moranga County Assembly?
I can confirm, Chair, that we have a charter, although we are reviewing it to align to the global audit standards, and we are getting much support from the clerk and the speaker in terms of discharging our mandates. So we are working, and at the end of the year, we'll be able to review what we've done in this year and what recommendations have been actioned in terms of what needed to come from them.
Of course, as a chair of the audit committee, you know that you should not rest easy until the entity has an unqualified opinion.
Sure, sir.
Yeah, that should be what you work towards. And then also, clerk of the assembly, make sure that you facilitate the public accounts committee to be able to carry out the primary oversight. If county assemblies do what they're supposed to do, then the conversation here in Nairobi will be very different, because we should not now be talking about some of these things at the Senate. We should be discussing the bigger policy issues. You have an internal auditor.
Yes, sir.
There's an internal auditor that you work with.
Yes, sir.
Did the internal?
Is here.
Okay, fine. So I think that's a good sign. I hope that that investment is going to pay dividends in the future. Patrick?
Thank you, Chairman. Please allow me to say that arising from the report of this committee for the period 23-24, we had made 17 recommendations to be implemented by the County Assembly, but they have not responded to your report, despite the time having elapsed. So they need to respond to that report and tell this House what they have done to implement your recommendations. Thank you, Chairman.
Speaker, as a chair of the board, I think you have overall policy responsibility and to ensure that recommendations of the Senate are implemented. What have you done? What is the status of the 17 recommendations? Are you aware of them?
Yes, we are aware, and we have started implementing quite a lot. It's just that maybe they are not documented here. We could provide that when required.
Auditor, what is the tracking? What's the framework for tracking? Now that they have the 17, how do they feed back to you?
We circularize, and then we expect them to respond, so that now we go and verify whether what they are saying has happened, so that we do a report for all the 47 county assemblies as one report. So we are still waiting for them to respond.
So I think please take note of that. Make sure that that is done within the timelines. We will make our recommendations, and we'll expect that within 60 to 90 days, you'll come back to us to appraise us on the measures you have taken to implement our recommendations. I think we will wind up this meeting, but we must make a statement regarding those governors that are still hiding behind the Council of Governors not to appear before this committee. The basic principle in any financial management system is that you cannot get more if you have not accounted for what you have been given. And that is the basis of the motion that we have presented before the Senate. Some governors have chosen to spend all their time to linda ground, linda mwananchi, and linda all kind of things. And there's nothing wrong. It is their liberty to do so. But they also swore an oath to defend, protect, and uphold the Constitution and relevant statute. Coming before this Senate is not optional. The courts have defined it as mandatory, that governors must account for the money that has been allocated to the counties that they run. And so there is no mischief, there is no witch hunt, there is no malice on the part of the Senate. We are asking the governors, we are going to give you, and we are going to fight to ensure that 450 billion is divided and allocated to counties. Governors will have 364 days to spend that money. We are just asking for one day, the 365th day, for them to come before the Senate and tell the country how they use the money and how they are going to address the issues raised by the Auditor General. That cannot be malice. That cannot be witch hunt. That cannot be mischief. So if a governor decides that they can do everything else except account for money, then we shall also ask the Control of Budget not to release further expenditure. We are very careful that we are not telling CS Body not to disburse money to the county. No. The money will go to the county, the money will go to the CRF, but for you to draw the money from the CRF, there are certain conditions that must be met. And part of that will be a certificate from the clerk of the Senate that this governor has completed the accountability cycle as required under Article 229. That is reasonable. That is in line with principles of public finance. And I want to urge those who are still hiding behind the veil of the COG that the Senate never disburses money to the COG. It disburses money to 47 county governments, and every governor will have to carry their cross. There will be no collective carrying of the cross. So for those who still have good sense, we have sent out our invitations, we have sent out our summons. Please make sure you come before the Senate. Otherwise, there will be consequences. And those consequences will lead to suffering on the part of the people. Why should the people suffer simply because the governor has an ego and does not want to appear before the Senate? That is completely unnecessary. But as a Senate, we shall insist on that position. No accountability, no disbursement. And that motion will be coming up on the floor of the House later on today. So to the County Assemblies Forum, we are happy that you have not chosen to follow the bandwagon of the governors, the clerks, and the speakers of the 47 assemblies. I think you know better. You have a better interpretation of the Constitution. And you know that accountability and appearing before the Senate is an obligation, and it is not a favor to the Senate. So pass our regards to your colleagues and tell them that the Senate stands with them. As long as they are observing and upholding the Constitution, we shall work together and ensure that we entrench CAF, we entrench SOCAT, and generally ensure that county assemblies continue to get adequate resources for them to be able to carry out their oversight mandate. I think with that, we come to the end. Unless the Speaker, there is anything you want to raise?
Not at all. Just to say thank you for the time given and also your insights and your advices. We are ready to come anytime you call us. Thank you.
Excellent. We therefore adjourn. The committee will meet again tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. We wish you a safe journey back home.